So I'll call the meeting to order. I believe we have enough officers here. Counties, Calvin, got it. Oh, that's my computer. Sorry. It's okay.
Luckily, we have two techies in the room. that can
All right.
handle that stuff.
If they have Allegan president, anybody from Darian, Cass? Kalamazoo, I know we've got me and people online. And Buren, St. Joe.
Just show us a variant.
No,
4 out of
so
6.
4 out of 6, is that like 6? Yeah, okay. Anybody? Actually, 4, cool. So the agenda was in the email that was sent out. It's the standard agenda that we normally have, with the addition of 3 bullet points. We need to discuss what to do with the money in the PAC account and where to transfer it. And we also need to talk about the convention on February 11th. So it's kind of 2.5, actually. So I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Mike and Bill,
Yep, who's doing minutes?
the machine.
The recording. It's recording, and I'll transcribe it later. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand on Zoom. Aye. All right, I believe that passes. Any opposed? Seeing none, we have an accepted agenda. Cool. I was actually unable to find the prior meeting minutes, so I'll have to probably forward them on to the next meeting at the convention, unfortunately, so we'll have to skip that agenda item. We've got any elected officials in the room that want to provide a report? Anybody else? Chair report. I do not have much to report. The MDP obviously is ramping up for their convention. They are going to have the election of MDP chair at the convention, so it's very important that everybody attends and votes. They're using, so the chair's call was kind of confusing. They said that they're going to be using your phone and the internet to vote, but they're not allowing anyone who isn't physically present at the convention to vote. So they're not doing any remote voting or proxies. You have to be physically there. So they're kind of going back to all in person, even though they're using the technology to vote. So if you can attend, I know that it's in Detroit, it's kind of a trek, but if you can attend, it's very important that you do attend. So that's kind of unfortunate, but that was the big takeaway from the chair's call. There's a lot of concern about, there were a lot of people asking about what's going on in Ottawa County. So they've got that on their radar and they're concerned about that, but a lot of the people that were on that call were asking questions like, what's the MVP gonna do about it? And right now the MVP just said that they were watching and waiting and not quite sure, so.
What's going on in Ottawa?
Ottawa Impact.
Yeah.
Very organized group of right-wing
Over the
individuals took over the county board.
Mhm.
Yeah, they threw out the incumbent Republicans, so they have extremist Republicans now. They renamed the slogan from where we all belong to let freedom ring. They did away with the DEI department of the county. They fired the county administrator and replaced him with John Gibbs. They fired the attorney, the county attorney, and hired somebody who represented claims that the election was fraudulent in 2020. And I think they got rid of the health department director also.
Yeah, at least they're trying.
Say, didn't somebody bring up for the health department that leaks, because when we just hired a new health department, it has to be approved by the state.
Oh,
And I believe the other person was already approved, so I don't
Yeah.
believe they use house, but they're trying.
Right.
And they probably also violated a bunch of laws, violated the Open Meetings Act, but
They did a bunch.
because they did pretty much everything behind the scenes.
and none of this stuff was on the agenda for the first meeting of the county commission, and they added it all to the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, and then proceeded to
Steamroll through.
steamroll through and try to destroy Ottawa County.
Certainly there's a guy that's gonna show up to every single one of their
Yes.
meetings and call them fascists.
Yes.
It's
I love
awesome. I applaud that. So all power to him. So those were the 2 big things from the chair's call this past month. in our previous meetings, when we didn't have quorum, and offline, this group has been talking a lot about, what to do with our PAC funds and our admin account, transferring it to the new organization, so that's why that's on the agenda for this meeting for our group to discuss, because, as everyone is aware, well, maybe not everyone is aware, but, we've been lapsed in our filing for the FEC compliance, and that has not been resolved in the last year when we've tried to been working on it. So that's still outstanding, and there are questions about what we can do with that money because it hasn't been properly, recorded to the government agencies. So that's why we're discussing that today. Other than that, I'm not running for chair again, so thank you for the opportunity to lead this organization. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. And I wholeheartedly endorse Jill, who's running in February, so please vote for Jill.
There's no challengers.
Yeah, thank you all.
It's a thankless job.
I mean, it was a difficult period of time for this organization because we were coming out of the pandemic, but then we were kind of like still dealing with COVID, so we couldn't have as many in-person meetings as we wanted to all the time. And it's difficult to organize real political change remotely. But I mean, we did a really good job with the election, so I'm very proud of that, but, yeah, I'm gonna focus on my family, so, all good things, right?
Yeah.
Any remaining reports from any of our other officers? And Rick isn't here. Okay. All right, county reports. Anything to report?
We had Granbury County had a retreat, and we've gotten a bunch of goals set up, and we've been adding people to our executive committee. Got plans to move ahead. We got a little office right now that's really cheap, but it's not very practical for meetings because it's too small, but we're using it for storage and presence in Hartford, and working on going forward. I am working with our financial team, financial committee, and our treasurer to get us in compliance. Turns out we haven't filed anything since 2014, so I'm working with the state to get our it's a committee committee. It's whatever, it's the document that says who we are and who's the officers and how to contact us with the state. And then we can have a candidate, or I think a state account, they call it, the one where you can do stuff for candidates, so that we can do it right going forward, because we did it wrong. We don't want to get busted and get yelled at like the 6th did. I'll try and help us, our 6th district, get compliance when the time comes.
Yeah.
When we become 4th, because we'll have to put in a new form and all that stuff.
Well, I'll talk more about that later. We should probably put that out. Well, anyway, when we talk about the checking accounts. We can talk about that.
Any other counties have any reports?
Allegan is moving into their new office today. We lost our existing office that we've had for so long because Emily Green, who owned the building, retired. And then shortly after she retired, they actually sold the building. And the rent was gonna get raised to $600 a month, and we just didn't feel like that was a good use of members' donations to spend it all on just keeping an office open that we use very sparingly. So we announced we were moving out. One of the members reached out, said Eddie and Alvin had bought a building in downtown Allegan, right between the theater and the city offices. And they would probably love to rent to us, and so we are renting from them. And they are the founders of Allegan Speak Up, which is an organization that's about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they sponsored the first Allegan Out Loud event, which was a gay pride event in August, and it was wildly successful, and we had no protesters. So we're just really excited to be partnering with Eddie and Alvin and renting space in their building. It's got actually display windows, like old fashioned department store display windows. So that'll be fun for us. Helen is the new chair of the Allegan Dems as of the election. Because our deal was she's gonna do the dev, so I can, the admin dev, so I can run the report. We had a really successful gala. We raised, $3,700 or $3,800. We had a venue, it was at the, Way Post Brewing, down Blue Star Highway. And, we had a sold out event. The capacity of that venue was 78. And we had almost exactly 78 people there. A couple of people bought tickets and didn't come. So I'm really, really happy. It just turned out perfectly. Matt Longjohn was our MC. Lori Schulten spoke. I was forecasting 4 power couple tickets, which were $200 for 2 people. And we sold, I think, 16 or 19 of those. So it just was it was a lot of fun. Everybody loved being together. It was profitable. The food was fabulous. So anyway, that was really exciting. It was our first event since I've been chair that we've actually put on. So we're planning to do it every year. I think that's it.
Anybody from Arian?
We are just reconstituting our committees. We've added some more people to our chairs committee. Trying to figure out how to get more people involved in participating and figuring that it's always good to ask, what do you want to do? But we need to rephrase that and saying, this is what we need, what can you do? A lot of things. So we're working on just those different things also. We had a event in the fall that was fairly successful, so that it was very successful. So we're going to be doing those kind of gala things too. So everybody's just trying to figure out how to, get everybody and keep everybody that we have, but add more people and figure out partnerships that we need to work with too, to make those, because we're all looking for the same thing, but everybody's got a different way that they can approach it. So trying to be a hub with a lot of spokes without everybody stepping all over each other or reconstituting something that somebody else is doing. So kind of what we're doing. So.
Mariah, do you want to report for Kalamazoo?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Mark. So we had our first meeting of the year this past week, this Thursday. It went really well. We passed a 2-year budget, which I'm really excited about because it just makes so much more sense and makes us have a clearer picture of the future and what we need to do financially. We have some pretty aggressive goals this year of making sure our committees are fully staffed, making sure that our membership income can cover our base expenses, our fixed costs, the office, my stipend, electric, all that stuff. I'm also really excited to report, if you haven't already heard, and I don't know if he's on here, but Justin Mendoza is our new first vice chair. And I'm so excited to have him. He's bright. I'm sure he's sick of hearing how wonderful he is, but I just see really good things for the KCDP moving forward, especially with his help. So I'm really excited about that. And then the last thing I think I'll say is that we have a precinct delegate training coming up at the office, and that's going to be on February 26th at 3 p.m. I am going to encourage and empower all of you to send your precinct delegates to that as well if they want to come. I'm hoping to have a really good turnout and just talk more about what it means to be a precinct delegate and how we can get these folks involved kind of more on the grassroots level. Say what?
3 p.m.
3 p.m. on Sunday, February 26th at the office. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Mariah. There's no one here from Cass, and there's no one here from St. Joseph, so they're not present to provide a report. Do we have anybody from the state party to provide a report? I don't see anybody.
But Eleanor, can I just add something about the
Yes.
convention that we had our meeting, BCDP a couple weeks ago, and Mark Lachey was our speaker. We had asked him to come to talk about how we can, what MVP is going to do going forward, how we can be a part of it. So he was very good and talked about a lot of things. And then at the end, he mentioned that he is not running for reelection. Not, not so much because maybe he didn't want to, but more along the lines of that supposedly, according to him, there are going to be two people running for the vice chair piece. And I forgot to write their name, bring their names, but anyway, it's one person, Eric, person from the State House and a person
Okay.
from the state ledge.
Eric Curry
Yes.
and Jason Morgan.
Yes, Erica, and so anyway, so that is going to be. Yes, but no, they're running together. They're going to each be there. So,
They have a first and a second vice chair.
right, but
I thought
anyway,
they had a
they're,
third and a fourth and a fifth. too.
well, anyway,
Please vote for chair.
what I'm saying though is that they are being asked to run. And when I checked in farther into it, just like, okay, I don't understand, Mark, why, I don't understand what the purpose of having two people, especially one that's, we've got control of the legislature right now, like they have plenty to do on their own, and they're going to be doing this as well, and they have to run for reelection, at least one of them does, so I wasn't sure the purpose. So I dug a little bit further, and then I was told that part of it is for this person's idea was that when Mark Brewer was in charge, we had much more participation with the legislature. And it worked in lots of more positive ways for fundraising, yada, yada, yada. So I have no idea. Plus, Labora is being challenged. She does have a challenger person from Detroit. So this could be a very interesting convention. And I didn't see anything. I don't know if we do have to do like signatures for collecting.
Yes,
Would that be at the convention or?
no, it's ahead of time
It's
online.
gonna be on.
They're gonna send an email. I believe that the time period is February 3rd to February 6th.
Okay, so so those, if there are names, if that's all happening, then those names should be on it.
Correct. Anybody else have anything state party related that we need to discuss? Okay, then we can get to our new business. So Jill, if you wanted to spearhead this discussion.
We have to. So, I have talked to several various different people. And the consensus is that the FEC does not care at all about little teeny county parties in congressional districts with $8,000. They're never going to respond to us. They're never going to tell us what to do. And we don't need to worry about it because they're probably never coming after us. And so we just need to close the accounts and walk away. So the thought, it's the admin account is just the admin account. That's not a big deal. Admin is not, there's no reporting for admin. For the PAC, the treasurer of record of the PAC is the person that is responsible with the PAC. And I've been looking at this and I've been talking to different people. I've talked to Justin Mendoza. I also had a conversation with Matt Long John just to get his take on it. And it seems to me that a federal PAC is a separate entity from the congressional committee. I haven't talked to you about this, but it is formed by people and it assigns a treasurer and it's like a parallel activity.
Yes.
That makes sense to you?
Yeah, I have read the entire FEC guide. It has been a while. It's about 80 pages long or so. And that's correct.
So as a congressional committee, we really just have, chair, vice chairs, secretary, treasurer. The treasurer is responsible for the admin account. That is the treasurer's responsibility. If you have a PAC, you can, as a group of people, decide to create a PAC, but it is a separate, endeavor. And I don't have the documentation from when the PAC was created. And the big question I have is who can close the PAC? Not just close the checking account for the PAC, but actually this PAC is disbanded, So that's going to need to be researched. So as far as the fourth goes, I think what we should do and I did send an email to Dorothy Johnson, compliance officer. If we were to, like, say, disperse money from that PAC to a new PAC, then that would just pollute and corrupt the new PAC with this donation that hasn't been reported and is suspect and everything. And to me, that's just a risk, whether it's like a low risk or a high risk, I don't think it's a risk you want to take. So I sent the email to Dorothy and I said, seems like to me, we have two options. One is we transfer it to the admin account. The second one is we donate it to a charity. I would just assume we transfer it to the admin account. We can use it to pay for the website. We can use it for administrative expenses. So that's my recommendation. But we are gonna need to get and I haven't checked online, to see what can be found online about the facts and whatnot of the federal PAC that we have. But it needs to be closed, and we're not gonna worry about the fines, and we're not gonna worry about, transferring it into another PAC, or just transfer it into an admin account. So I feel like if everybody is good with that, and we'll need to vote on that, but if everybody's good with that, then I think the only thing we really need to discuss is how much should go to the fourth admin account, and how much should go to the fifth. Because split it down the middle. Yeah.
I have several questions, several discussions. Wendy Flora just put something in the chat that I am going to address as history, but I was,
This is Michigan's record of the 6th district.
Okay, but does it say?
we're looking at a record that's on a computer, so hang on for a second. Okay, so at the time that the PAC started, I believe that it was Grant Taylor, John Taylor's brother, who was the treasurer for that. Subsequently to that, Meredith Place was the treasurer of the district, and we have always had the treasurer of the district also file the reports for the PAC as long as that was happening. And I know that by the time that I left as chair and that Meredith left as treasurer, we were up to date. So everything when we haven't filed has been following that.
So Mike just looked it up, and it does, he said the last interaction on the PAC was Meredith. So when Meredith became not treasurer anymore, the paperwork was never filed with the federal PAC to change who the treasurer is. So Meredith is still the treasurer.
Wow, really? So it never transferred to Grant when?
Well, it doesn't transfer. You have to
Put paperwork
you
in.
have to turn in paperwork.
Yeah.
And it's not
With the state.
the PAC is the PAC. The congressional district is the congressional district committee. If we change who the treasurer of the congressional district is, it has no impact on the PAC. The PAC is its own thing. Okay. And this is, one second, and this is one of the things that to me is important to be crystal clear about, and I plan to talk about it at February 11th convention. This PAC, the 6th district federal PAC, does not belong to the congressional district. It belongs to the people who signed on the dotted line and created it, and they are accountable for it. So I think that's one of the things that kind of got muddy. Is that, oh, well, and it's fine if the treasurer for the congressional district is willing to be the treasurer for the PAC, but it's not an assumption. It is a taking on that responsibility or not. And Ken Wilcutt, from what we can tell here, never took responsibility for the PAC. So he's our current treasurer. And then when Meredith left, Paul was kind of stuck holding the bag, but he was never legally responsible.
Yeah, so it's been like 6 years.
Oh, yeah, that was the last interaction was 2015.
Yeah, so I want to ask Jill to repeat something you were proposing. First of all, do we know what the balances are in these two accounts?
He does. The bank accounts, yes, however, it may not be complete if we've got outstanding, like, have we made sure that all of the disbursements from that blue, for example, have been deposited or are they hanging out in our account?
I have no idea. I know nothing about the finances of the 6th district. And Ken has not been to a meeting that I've ever been at.
Okay, well, I know that at the time that I left, everything was in the account, but I just. We do not know what we have in those checking accounts.
I want to say when you checked with Ken before, it was like 1,000 or 2.
I believe I'm.
In the admin,
I'm an authorized user on at least one of them. I can turn my phone on my bank and be like, hi, I don't know what I'm referring to. Do you have a balance on these? I just don't know.
Yeah.
okay,
Well, Ken said he would help us. I mean, Eleanor and I met with Ken in the last month. I emailed, about a week ago to Eleanor and Ken, you know, with my kind of my sizing up of the situation and what I thought made the most sense to do. Ken responded back and said he couldn't be at the meeting today, but he would do whatever needed help doing. So I believe
I
that
want to
he's
report-
got, does he have control of the accounts? I mean, is he its authorized signer? Did that happen?
Yeah, he set them up at Honor.
Oh, that's right. We actually got whole new accounts.
Yeah.
Because when we originally had the accounts, we had to empty them out and start all over.
Okay, so.
I just want to have Jill repeat, what was your suggestion to do with the federal PAC money?
My suggestion is that it be it would be dispersed to the 4th district and the 5th district admin accounts. Because then the fact that it's not been reported, you know, who donated to the PAC has been reported. If you put it in the admin account, it's not necessary to report.
Because we're not going to be using
We're
it
not
for
gonna use it for
candidates or
Right.
campaigns in any event.
And I sent that to Dorothy and she said that she agreed with my assessment.
Okay, well, that's good.
Okay, so then I just need some clarifying, because I was on that committee with you and Sunny, and when we set up that, and so.
Yep.
Do we have to have a PAC in order to give money to candidates?
So,
And if so, are we going to set up another PAC?
well, that's
that.
gonna be a discussion for the 4th district, but I am fine with having a pre-discussion about that. So I talked to Justin Mendoza and I said, since he's quite a political operative, I would agree with Mariah tremendously. And I said, you know, so here's the thing, you know, you're gonna run for Congress. This is a $2 to $3 million endeavor. This PAC, we are limited to $5,000 for the primary and $5,000 for a general. And I think that's.
The PAC or the committee is?
A PAC.
Okay, I thought the committee was limited.
No, the committee, well, in order to receive contributions, you have to have a federal PAC or some
Okay,
that reported, and admin accounts are not that, admin accounts are just admin. So, in the grand scheme of $2 to $3 million, $10,000 is lunch money. And so it is my feeling that the congressional districts' main purpose, that most of their energy, their time, their brain power should be expended in, is the field organization, the getting the volunteers, the networking and getting, you know, and then there can be a PAC. I'm not gonna say there should be one. I'm
can
gonna say there
admin be used to do to, like, if we're, you know, using, doing what you said, field organization, et cetera, among the counties? Can we use admin money for that kind of thing? As long as
As
it's not
long as
just
it's
got
not for
candidate?
a campaign or candidates. We can support the counties in, you know, anything that we choose to, that is
If we're
going to
doing
build
some
the
kind of
county party infrastructure.
And we can do training,
We can train,
educational things, things like that.
So
and we
just
can pick our Zoom accounts and those kind of things. And websites and stuff. So, it is my feeling that the focus of the 4th congressional district should be building the infrastructure. Because I think one of the things that we proved when John Hoadley ran is that you can't buy the seat.
No.
You can raise a lot of money and you can still not win. So I've always said that, and it's just more evidence that that's true. So I think that what the congressional district needs to have as their top priorities is everything that we can do to build the infrastructure of the volunteers and whatnot, and relationships in the district. And then if there is a group that, if there's and people interested in being on a finance committee and people interested in creating a PAC, that's great. The main purpose for a PAC like that is because people can donate to the candidate
Right.
directly.
Right.
The only reason you need a PAC is somebody's got so much money that they maxed out to the candidate and they still want to give them $100,000. So then you need other PACs and places to put this money so that it can benefit the candidate in the winning of the district. So we can have, not we, there can be a fourth district PAC, but that is the mission of those people who want and need this PAC as a place to put money. And, you know, the other thing is if we max out that one, you know, the county parties, if any of the county parties have people who that's their thing, fundraising, the money, they can create a federal PAC as long as they have a treasurer who's willing to be responsible for it, and then that can be another place. to put
We're
it.
talking about a federal PAC.
Yeah, a federal PAC.
If we have a blue account, that's not.
We do too. So I think my feeling is that the congressional district needs to be focused on the infrastructure of a campaign and building the infrastructure and making the county party strong and making sure we have precinct delegates and all of that kind of thing. And then if there's a finance committee that wants to put a PAC together, they can put that together. But I don't want to see us spending our time on something that in the grand scheme of things is a minor. You know, not that raising $3 million is not a very big task, but that's the candidate's job, you know? And, you know, if we can create a PAC that will, you know, be a place to put money from people who've maxed out and they have another 1,000 or 2 that they could give, that's great. If we want to, you know, donate to that PAC, you know, we can donate to it, but it's just, it's kind of like a minor role of the congressional district,
So,
how I look at it.
so I was on a monthly thing with the 6th. So would we have something like
We
that?
can still do that, but first we need people that are going to be responsible for. the
So
PAC.
my question would be, so if we went through Act Blue, there would have to be a PAC, because the Act Blue can't go to the admin, or does it?
Well, there's 2 act blues, one goes to the admin and one goes to the PAC.
So we could,
So
we could stipulate if we
You can
wanted.
pick which
Okay.
one on the website. I looked at the other day that Eleanor built. There's the donate to the PAC, donate to the admin. They
Okay.
both go to Act Blue. People can donate to
Okay.
whichever one
All
they want. But
Okay.
like I said, I mean, and until everybody's maxed out to the candidate of their choice, it doesn't really accomplish a whole lot in the grand schemes of funding to put it into a pass.
So I just think you need to explain that, so if people want to donate monthly, that, you know, we will definitely use the admin, because we've got a grand idea of how we can use the admin money to help with the entire 4th district. And if I can just add one more thing back to your dividing up the money, I think it should be as evenly distributed as possible. For like Berrien, we have 2 congressional districts, and actually the 5th probably has more
Right.
than the 4th than we do in the 4th. So I think, you know, where I said just split it evenly, I think that's gonna be I think we'll have to figure out maybe a little bit where we're not.
Well,
back
the
to
one thing we can
balance
do
this.
is we can use the number of Democrats. So like if you look at the call to convention, there's a thing that tells you how many, they call them delegates, but it's
It's- it's-
confusing.
It's the state allocation
Right.
of delegate vote, which is the number of votes that it's based on the number of votes from the top of the ticket in the most recent election. And it's proportional, and that actually is available down to precinct level.
Okay. Well, I think we have whole townships. Right? We don't have any splits of townships between 4 and 5 from the old 6.
I don't,
I don't
well,
hear it.
somewhere there is, but
There's townships, like there's townships in Kalamazoo.
there has to be one place at least where, because the allocation of voters to congressional districts has to be exact.
Right.
So, but whether that, I don't think it's significant.
Well, and here's the thing, if you look at the call to convention, there is, for every congressional district, it lists every single county that is a part of that congressional district, whether it's a full or a part. And it tells you how many equivalents each county has. So I used that in the chart that I sent out. I just sent it to the county chairs, but I used Mark's spreadsheet that he calculated for 2017-18. And it's 346 delegates allocation, and like Allegan has 48. So, and, you know, I don't have it in front of me, I could pull it up, but, so we could use the, I don't know if we could or not, Well, for Kalamazoo, we know that, you know, the 4 townships go to the 5th and the other 9 go to the, and I think with Berrien, the same thing, if it's not in the 4th, it's in the 5th. So, and then Cass would be all in the 5th, but we know how many equivalent delegates they have, so I think we have the information.
Lincoln Township is divided.
Right, but even if it's divided, that township is a part of either Berrien or Cass or
What's part of
Kalamazoo.
Fourth and the fifth.
Right, but what I'm saying is that when you look at the CD4 and the CD5, it says this is how many delegates of Kalamazoo County are in 5. This is how many delegates of Kalamazoo County are in 4.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
So we could do it proportionally using those delegates, and so I would just say that, you know, proportional means we take those, we take the total amount of money, we figure out how much
Okay.
is the dollar equivalent of each delegate, and then we figure out how many delegates from the old 6 are now in the new 5th versus.
Good idea.
Yeah. And then I think that would
Yep.
allow us to do it more proportionally.
I think that is certainly fairer than just a 50-50
Yeah.
Yeah,
split.
I do too, yes.
I think. I think that this is the last meeting of the group that has control over.
We need to decide.
So I think we need a formal motion and a vote on that plan.
I agree.
So I will make the motion to divide, what we're talking about here is
The pack.
the PAC money.
Well, we should probably do the same thing with the admin, only to be fair, the same thing should happen, the same allocation of percentages.
Sure, so I will make a motion to divide the monies under the control of the 6th District Committee. Proportionally between the new 4th District and 5th District, according to the state allocation of delegate vote.
I second that.
Support.
All right, we have a motion. Is there any more discussion?
How do you have to be eligible to vote? Are you just a member of the party or is there something else?
You have to be a member of this organization.
Okay. I don't know that I am, so.
Okay.
We normally do that at the beginning of the meetings, anybody want to join the committee and then we vote, make them part of it, and then we'll allow you voting privilege, so.
Sorry. All right, no discussion. So all those in favor of the motion as stated by Mark Miller to divide our PAC and admin funds proportionally between the 2 new districts according to the state allocation. Please say aye.
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 Bunch of hands up there.
I do not hear any opposition, so the motion passes.
Someone,
All right, cool. So those were the 2 big things we need to discuss, and then planning for the convention is the other agenda item that we have.
Right. So, there was a requirement to be a chair or a vice chair of a congressional district to fill out a Google form with the MDP by January 12th. And I did have to talk to somebody the other day who had access to that information, and he confirmed that I was the only one that filed for chair, and Melissa and Rick Catherine were the only ones that filed for vice chair. Now, Mark, is it your understanding that we're only supposed to vote for chair and vice chair at the convention? I know you talked about.
No, that is, those are the only 2, and this was the rules revision which happened in 2018. Those are the only 2 who have to file in advance. The chair and the first vice chair at the congressional district level. We have traditionally, and we are supposed to elect all of our officers at the district caucus at the MDP convention coming up. So we will elect everyone who's present, who's a party member is a delegate. And then that whole group votes on membership of this committee and all of the officers as well as the state central delegates and alternates, which Jill just addressed, we had an allocation for that. So we'll have to have all of those elections there. We need to decide how many officers we're going to have. Jill and I have discussed that a bit. And I think that since we won't have any bylaws for the new fourth, I will have a resolution, it's very simple, saying that because the sixth is the majority of the new fourth, we'll continue with the sixth bylaws until a bylaws committee can be appointed and new bylaws written and approved.
And then the only other alternative to that is to, I believe you said that what the state party has is that at the convention, you vote for the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and the treasurer. And then the 15 members, or up to, or something about 15 members. And then that group of people within 30 days meets and establishes the bylaws.
Well, it may take a little
than
more
30 days.
time than that in practical sense. And we have always elected all of the officers at the convention. I suppose there'd be no objection to delaying some, but
Right.
to the extent that we have people who are willing to
Yeah.
run and to serve there, there's no bar in the state party rules to electing all of our officers there. But of course, then that assumes that we want, and this has to be a resolution that the attendees at the convention will vote for.
I have a draft copy. Well, just what officers the bylaws call for us to have. See if it says. Well, the draft, but I didn't.
And Mark, don't we, when we do the state central, we divide up into our
Yeah.
county, it's done by counties, correct?
Yeah, well, we have to vote that that's how we're gonna do it, right? So
Yes,
there needs to be a motion that this is the process we're gonna use, and everybody needs to say, yes, we approve of that, because there are other ways, and, the way we've always done it works really well for our geography. But like District 2, which is the north part, I think it's 2, it's the north part of Ottawa, and there's like 20 counties. There's not enough delegates for every county to have one. I mean, there's not enough delegates, and there's too many counties. So they kind of take a different tact, and they have a different process, and they do a slate and everything. But I like the way we've always done it, and that's what I'm gonna recommend.
Is that each county does it?
we should have a rules report that's printed and ready to hand out to the delegates at the convention.
And what the rules are?
From the credentialing committee at the convention.
No,
No, I mean a rules report for what our proposal is to be adopted as how we're going to run the meeting and what offices we're going to elect and all of that.
The bylaws say, district officers shall be the district chair, first vice chair, second vice chair, corresponding secretary, recording secretary, treasurer, and 4 trustees.
So, if we.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do we know what quorum is gonna be for the convention, and are we worried about not hitting quorum? I know the convention in the fall, I don't know how.
Delegates show up.
Okay, of people who are there. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. So, okay, got it.
So Jill, and I didn't even think to look on the call to convention on the allocation of delegates, when it talks about
Yeah.
varying, it divides varying up
Yeah.
in the fifth and the fourth. Okay,
Yeah.
Does it also do that with the state central?
Yeah, it'll
Okay.
happen in the state central, yeah, the people who live in the CD5 part of Darien will go to the CD5
Right.
convention. And then, I don't know their numbers, because I didn't look at them,
So I mean, so those are separate,
yeah, Darien won't have as many from the fifth, because percentage wise,
Right.
the number of Democrats from Darien in the fifth is one of the smaller percentages. But you'll get a bunch more from the south.
Okay, got it. I can look that up when I get home.
Yeah. I don't have all the numbers, but,
That's fine.
we have one more delegate than we had in the past. We've always had 11. And it's been split like either 6 males and 5 females, or 5 males and 6 females. This time we have 12. And, I did all the percentages, and I sent it out to all the county chairs, just saying that this is the proposed method. You know, and to just please get back with me if they have any questions or concerns. And I've talked to a couple of the chairs so far. And actually the male female worked out for the ones I talked to so far. And so I don't have any, buddy objecting at this point to doing it that way.
Do people have to be present or to be nominated?
No,
Yeah,
So they'll put that in the rules so they don't have to be here.
People can
I
be-
can remember to do that, yes, but
Yeah, we don't have to.
I'm not totally thrilled with that.
And then we have the same number of alternates. So we have 6 regular, and then we have alternates for each of. the
Yeah,
districts.
yeah, there's 6 male, 6 female delegates and 6 male, 6 female alternates. So, but I do think it's really good to distribute a certain number of delegates to each county, because that way the smaller counties still get a chance to be on state central and have representation. So, I don't expect any pushback on that. I have discussed it with Calhoun and with Ottawa, which would be the ones that this will be new to, and I didn't get any pushback from them either. So I think that works the best. And so then what we did in the past is the counties that, when all the members were in the room, they would have sub meetings within their county and then decide who their delegates are gonna be, and then just report them. Now, Mark, do you know if we have to vote as a whole group on that, as, you know, kind of like as a slate, or does each county voting? If we do it that way, is the county's final?
I can tell you what I always did, which was to have the counties separate out into county caucuses.
Yeah.
Elect their state central delegates and alternates. Report those back to the district chair, which will all have already been elected at that point.
Right.
And then hold a vote of the whole to ratify all of the selections. Because the NDP rules are silent on that point. If we vote as a district, it makes it safe.
Yeah, it's solid.
But
Okay,
you do, but
that's-
you still vote within the county, then you just bring those numbers and they get
Right.
ratified.
And then the expectation is that all the counties will support what each of the other counties did, and it'll just be a formality. But it will be
Okay.
formally approved.
I agree.
Yeah. Um,
Can't ever leave, Mark, just so you know. You have to plan vacations carefully.
true. So that's kind of all, I had, to talk about for convention. Does anybody have any questions?
If somebody isn't present to be nominated, how do they accept the nomination? That's kind of odd.
Could they do it?
Ahead of time, I guess.
I
I
mean,
think,
you have.
yeah, and that's part of the reason why I socialized the proposed plan to elect the state central delegates. So that each county could figure out what they wanted to do, and the county chairs could kind of orchestrate that. Because that way, and I know, are you gonna be a
I will.
Oh, okay, good, because Rick was thinking he was gonna be the only one from Van Buren, but, he wasn't sure. But, Van Buren has a male delegate and a female alternate, and, so, like, if Rick couldn't be there, you know, he would talk to Mike and they would figure it out. I mean, the only people who really get to vote on the state central delegates are the people who actually show up at the convention. So it's not like, and I think, you know, Mark didn't allude to this at all or anything, but it's not like the county party has to decide this as a county party before convention. That is not necessary. So, but I think each county party chair should be figuring out.
And I just, I elaborating that a little bit. Encourage everybody, all the chairs who have Jill's email, spread it out to anybody they know who is interested in attending. Or interested in serving on state central, so they can talk to someone who is going to be at the convention.
Right. So, yep. Oh, and the other thing I can let you know is we did ask Emily Warrior whether State Central would be meeting virtually or in person. And she said that they are currently planning to meet virtually. They could make the decision to meet in person, but she said they will never have hybrid meetings. So they will either meet virtual and everybody's virtual, or they meet in person and everybody has to show up. There will be no hybrid, no hybrid. The other thing that I was reading through and I sent an email to Emily Boyer for clarification. I was reading through the call to convention. And I do not see anywhere in the call to convention that it says you must be present to vote at the state party caucus of the convention. It says you have to be a member and it tells all the things of how you know, the rules about
I
being a
thought that they were
member.
going to have.
And then you have to be credentialed via votes and the emails will be sent to all members in good standing. And then they can get credentials. The thing that cannot be done remotely is the congressional district committees. So I sent an email to Emily Boyer just to get her double confirmation. But I do believe that like people can vote for Lavora. And there will be a live stream of the convention available that is happening live during the convention, starting at 3 p.m.
They didn't seem to, insurance call, somebody specifically asked me to vote if we're not there.
You can't
Yeah.
vote at the congressional district meeting, but you can, I think. That's why I'm asking for clarification.
Yeah.
Because I don't see anything in there that says in order to vote at convention, you need to be, because they're starting credentialing at 9 in the morning on Friday. And people will not be at convention on 9 in the morning on Friday.
So I'm trying to remember what exactly was said. From what I recall, the question was asked, will there be live streams for the convention, for the districts?
Right.
And they said, no, we're not doing that. And I'm like, well, if the district wants to do it, they can probably do it.
They
But
could.
that's a district thing, not the MVP thing. MVP is just not facilitating that.
Right.
They said that they are live streaming the main meeting, but they said nothing about voting.
Okay, well, that's why I'm unclear, because I don't see anything
I
in
read
the call to
what you read.
convention that says you have to be present at the convention to vote for chair, like for Lavora or
Remember,
Danielle.
maybe I'm screwing.
That's okay.
I got the call open right now, and it says that they're gonna do everything on the BOAX app. So the BOAX app doesn't care what you do.
Right, and it doesn't say you have to be,
President.
right, well, that's why I want Emily to tell us, because I don't know. I hear what you're saying. What I remember from the chair's call was that there was a question about whether you can vote in the congressional district meetings, and they said, no, you must be present at the congressional district meeting to vote for congressional officers or state senators.
That's on the. We know them to sort of like make your congressional district. Divide by that. And I remember that question being, can I see it, not can I vote? So we're remembering the same thing differently.
Okay, yeah.
But that may be me, because I was giving this.
Oh, yeah, well, I wasn't glued, listening with bated breath to everything that was being said either. I was probably distracted also, but, that is my understanding, and I thought for sure on the calls chair that they clarified that the only people that could vote at the district conventions were the people that were in the room. I remember them saying. Does anybody online, Mariah, were you at the chair's call? Do you remember?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I was just getting out of my car.
No problem. On the chair's call, did they say whether people who were not at the convention could vote?
So,
At congressional district caucus?
I was not on the most recent chairs call, but Corey King came to our KCDP meeting, our executive committee meeting, and he did say that you use the votes app to vote for Lavora, et cetera, but you have to be present in person to vote because the votes app will not work for congressional committees.
Right, that was what I
Okay,
understood.
so
You
that
have
that
to,
sort of infers that it will work for main voting now.
well, I think because it's votes and because the credentialing is starting before people show up in person, if they were gonna force people to be at the convention to vote, then they would only be credentialing people in person at the meeting. I feel like, that's making a little bit of an assumption, but I think it's a solid one. So my feeling in how I interpret it, but that's my email. But I would stand by that, because we aren't using votes in the congressional districts. So I don't know what method we would use to credential people and accept votes, and the votes aren't gonna be the same in every one, and it'd be a mess. So I don't see how you could do remote with credentialing and everything for the congressional district,
We
so.
did it, I mean, we did it last year or 2 years ago. We did our,
That's true.
we did our district convention too. I mean,
We did.
but they're just not handling it, they're letting the districts, handle it if they choose, which probably was.
Right, so at this point, I think what we're going with is that you gotta be there at the convention to vote. In the congressional district elections, and then I will. Let Eleanor know and Mike know, I guess Mike know, and he can disperse out clarification from Emily Boyer as far as voting for Cynthia Johnson or Lavora. You know, the main convention. Any other questions about convention?
Okay, that was the end of our agenda as planned. Is there any other new business that needs to be addressed? And we'll go on.
I just want to remind everybody of what you said, but they might not have heard. So the current 6 district bylaws, which Mark and I are recommending we temporarily adopt at the convention on February 11th, are on the 6th district website right now. And that's Michigan
Six
6
Dems.
Dems.com, and it's all spelled out. It's 6 is SIXTH. So if anybody wants to look at the bylaws, that we will be using or voting to use. And put in place as a placeholder until the bylaws committee can meet and look at them and potentially make changes to them.
And you can get there from the Facebook page.
And you can link to it on Facebook. And then all of that stuff will have to be, I guess the other thing I should just tell everybody, because we talked about it, but we didn't talk to everybody else about it. So I asked if there were any expenditures, like were we paying for a website or a Zoom account or anything like that? And Eleanor said, no, that she has been paying for our website for the last 2 years. So, it's simple, thank you. And that simplifies the wrapping up of the 6, because we don't have any expenditures that we're aware of. We don't have to close any of that down now. And then the other thing is that the 6th district website says Michigan 6. So it won't be like we can just take it over and use it for 4th. So that all of that stuff will be started fresh with a fresh slate. We can decide what we want our website name to be. If we want one, who's gonna be the webmaster, all that stuff is yet to be determined. So,
Can I suggest that going forward, no person is responsible for paying things like that?
Well, it's
Wow.
gotta be paid for though.
well, she's paid for it,
Well,
she just didn't get reimbursed.
That's what I'm saying. That she should be reimbursed for that. But
Yeah.
going forward, I would hope that we pay for that as a district rather than having an individual pay for that.
Right. It was news to me, so I endorse that, Wendy.
And thank you to Eleanor for paying for it, but
Yes. All right. Any other questions?
We could just go to good and welfare.
Good and welfare.
Good and welfare.
Well, I would just bring up that in Brandywine School District, which is one of the school districts in Berrien County that was not successful in beating off the We the Parents group, are having their first board meeting on Monday night. Their agenda is now has over 20 items on it. Most of them are discussed and then vote, things like, curriculum,
Do they
etc.
have a majority?
They have the majority.
Oh,
So, and they voted themselves into all the spots, so a lot of us are gonna be down there just supporting
yeah.
Brandywine to see how it goes. Had a couple of places where people resigned, and of course, We the Parents group have all the candidates just kind of sitting around waiting, and so they do apply, but so far they have not been successful. Coloma is the latest one. I just read that one of the board members resigned, so they're taking applications, so they're not done, so.
There's a vacancy in the Allegan School District.
Allegan?
There was, or was it
Martin.
Martin, I can report on that. So Martin was very sad. So one of the guys who has been on the school board for a long time, and it's not necessarily a We the People, and I don't know that We the People are
We
even
the
in.
parents.
We the parents are
Yeah.
even
Very creative.
in Martin, but there are some who are closely allied with would be the parents.
Moms for Liberty.
Yeah, one of those, but, or maybe just they share a kindred spirit around that. So anyway, there were 6 of them that ran. And there were 6 seats up in Wayne in Martin because their elections are 5 and 2, which is really whacked. It should be 3 and 4, but theirs is 5 and 2. So there are 5 seats up for reelection. And 1 person had been appointed. So then there was a partial. So there were 6 people and in both of the moderates, there were only 2, well, there were 3 moderates, none of them, 2 of the incumbents that were moderates got kicked off the board, and then the 1 young guy that was running for the partial didn't make it, so the 6 took over all the seats. The guy who was on the board, that had been on the board, who was part of their little slate, but not really all in on this extremist stuff, he had talked to everybody on the board about being president. And what did they want to accomplish and, all this stuff, got to the board meeting and then they didn't vote for him for president. And then they wouldn't vote for Austin for secretary or anything else. And after the elections were all done, he said, well, if this is the way it's gonna be, I resign, and he left the room. So they have an opening there, but the news is 3 people applied. 2 of them are moderates, one's actually a teacher, and the 3rd one is the more conservative, extreme one. And he doesn't live in the district. I mean, he lives in the district, but he neglected to change his voter registration when he bought his parents' house. So he's not eligible to serve for this opening. If there's another opening in the future and he changes his registration within 30 days of the opening, then he can. So that was kind of dodging a bullet, but it's not going great in Martin because the extremists have the board. But I am happy to report that Plainwell re-elected their incumbents, and the 2 open spots were won by the good guys. And all of the people that were endorsed by the teachers, the MEA, were elected to the school board. So that's a huge vote of confidence for the teachers.
Yeah,
And
then
they were nervous. They were pushing back about the endorsement, which I was freaking out about, because I'm like, hey, I can't say the Allegan Downs support these 4 people, because that's not gonna go over well. We need the teachers to do the endorsement. They were terrified that
Well, they
people
were.
would not vote for the candidates because the teachers endorsed
That
them.
was a theme throughout even Berrien County, but then we had a few that's, that spoke up and said, hey, if you were bargaining, you would be knocking on people's doors for support if it was contentious bargaining. This is just as contentious, if not more.
Exactly.
And so we probably had a better turnout for associations stepping up. A lot because MEA
Mhm.
developed some new guidelines. I mean, they're still very strict in doing it, but they opened up the door to a lot of different types of recommendations or paths to get there that worked for a lot better for people. So that was good.
So
So
anyway, we were successful.
we were
Otsego
successful all except for-
Otsego's moderate, rational people got reelected. Allegan's doing okay, so,
We
in
had
Allegan
10, yeah, we
County-
had 10 and 9 made it.
Yeah, the only one, well, Martin has taken a turn to the right, and then Wayland's just a dumpster fire.
So have any of you heard of a group called The Turning Point? Okay, so this is a turning point. It's a group, it's targeting young people. And it's not a good group.
USA.
Yeah, Turning Point USA, and they're making noises about coming to Berrien County, and they're trying to be, not really the extremists that we, the parents, probably were, and they're trying to go in through the back doorway, so just keep an eye out or ear open to we're on Turning Point, because they are coming down to this part of the world, and they've been around for a while. And they were very successful in Florida or Arizona, some state. They were very, very, very successful in getting school board people elected that you will not want.
I'm sorry, what was the name of that group again?
It's called Turning Point USA.
Thank you.
I remember they once stayed at a table at Bronco Bash a couple of years back.
Wow.
They're one that's a
Yeah,
big
they've
dark,
been around,
dark
yes.
money funding group.
Yeah,
I don't know about, the Ottawa Impact and the Moms for Liberty, that might be much more grassroots, but the Turning Point stuff, and they've got money behind.
and they also have like America First type logos, et cetera. So they had a big convention in December, so,
I think there were a number of lawsuits too, that
Yeah.
free speech.
yeah. So they've been around. You know, they're just not newly constituted, they have been around, but they've just newly gotten a lot of more insight and power. et cetera. Just to be on the lookout.
Anything else from anybody?
I would just say if we could be even half as mobilized as a group of Ottawa impacts, think of all the good things we can do.
Yeah,
All these like student teacher, or all these groups taking over the school boards, they're all fired up about big issues like CRT and litter boxes. What if we can get people fired up about issues that actually matter and are actually real? So hopefully we can just be inspired.
Well, excuse, what did you say?
Litter boxes.
Litter boxes.
boxes.
Literally?
Like,
Yeah. litter box, you got it.
yeah, it's-
What
So-
are we talking about?
There's a teacher at a litter box.
It stemmed from one real issue where a school,
Columbine.
okay, it was Columbine or a school in that area. Because they have the active shooter drills and they have to stay locked up into their rooms
Oh.
for whatever. One teacher had a bag of kitty litter in a cup. So that if a student had to go, they could go. And that was real. They confirmed it, like NPR called the people and
I
they said,
think
yes,
that's
that actually
real.
happened.
No,
Yeah,
it was real in Columbine. It was
Yeah.
Columbine High School.
right. And so some right-wing person heard that and said, oh no. The children in school are identifying as cats and they're letting them identify as cats. And they're installing litter boxes in all of our schools and indoctrinating our children and letting them identify as cats.
State legislature.
Crazy.
And a guy who was running for Plainville City Council was at the polls on election day where I was campaigning for Justin and everybody and all my school board candidates. And I overheard him talking to people saying there were litter boxes in Plainville High School. And I marched over there. I said, there are not. Why are you lying? Where are the litter boxes? Who told you that? And he just wouldn't even like.
Well, and if there were, it would be because they're getting locked up for gun safety.
Exactly.
So, come on.
Well, I'm sorry I asked.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm wrong.
Oh, yeah, no, it's crazy, and like the real reason behind it is so sad and they don't
Yes.
wanna address it at all, which is disgusting.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
adjourn, we are adjourned, thank you. Hi, everybody online.
How can we get on